Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Visordown. My name is Toad, and today we are at Motor 73 up in Adlington, and we're at the UK launch of QJ Motor. So I've got three bikes that I'm going to be riding across this launch, and one of them is this thing here that you can see in front of me, the SRV 600V. I'm also testing out one of QJ's new adventure bikes and also a naked as well. So if you want to check those videos out, head over to the other videos in the channel and you can find them. So as ever, I'm going to tell you about the bike and then I'm going to tell you about how it rides. And bearing in mind, I've not even swung a leg over the thing yet. I'll start at the top. The price of it is £5,699. What exactly is it? Well, it's a V4 powered cruiser, of course, because why not? A couple of weeks ago, I was riding the Bender LFC 700 up here in Adlington with MotoGP, and I've gone from one weird configuration of a cruiser to another with this V4 powered 561cc model that you can see before me. So it is putting out 67 horsepower or around about 65 bhp, and you've got 53 newton meters of peak torque. Your seat height is absolutely hugely accommodating at 720 millimeters. So this is, as every cruiser is, really a bike that a lot of people can get on and ride without too much trouble or worrying about how high the seat is. This thing has got some quite high specification suspension on it. So it's from a brand that you'll know. It's Marzocchi suspension at the front and the rear. You've got levels of adjustability at both ends. And the braking system is branded as QJ Motor, but we have a sneaking suspicion that beneath that branding, there is some by Bray or Jejuan branding. So either way, it's not real budget stuff. It's quite mid-spec sort of stuff on that. You've got a 16-litre fuel tank on the thing, so you've got enough miles for most people when they're bobbing around the country lanes or riding to their local cafe or a pub. What else do you get with the SRV? Well, you get a tyre pressure monitoring system at both ends. You also get, which is quite interesting, a tyre temperature system, which I'm not quite sure why you'd want it on a cruiser such as this. That's the kind of thing you find more on race bikes and sports bikes, but it's on there anyway. You've got a very neat looking little TFT dash, this little circular full colour TFT dash that does have connectivity. You've got a 6-speed gearbox and you've got a belt final drive, full LED lighting, and the bike tips the scales at 228 kilograms. So like I said, this is going to be a really busy little launch. I've got 3 bikes to test. I'm going to try my best to get all of the photography and the video done and get 3 bikes reviewed for you. So if you want to find out how this one rides, stick around. So our riding days up here in Adlington are done, and it's a case of another day, another weird and wonderful cruiser from the east. I've had quite a bit of seat time on this, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, because of the 3 bikes that I've been riding at this launch, this thing, for some strange reason, has been my guilty pleasure. Whenever it wasn't being ridden, I'd always put my hand in the air to go and jump on it and go for a little ride, because it really is, the riding experience of it, thanks to that V4 engine, is like nothing else that you'll experience in the cruiser segment. You've got a V4 power plant in a cruiser. It's just mad. I don't know, you know, Ducati did it with the Diavel, but Ducati did it in the Diavel because they already had a V4 power plant and they needed to replace the aging V-twin that was already in the Diavel, so they took the V4 and put it in there. What's mad about the QJ is that QJ designed this engine solely to go in this cruiser. QJ sell over, they've got 70 bikes in their full portfolio, in their brochure. And this engine does not reside in anything else. They built an engine solely for a cruiser, which I just think is absolutely bonkers. So how does it ride? Well, actually, it is a very punchy little engine. It's got much more punch than its capacity would have you believe. It's got more drive through the mid-range than the LFC 700 Bender that I was riding the other week. And it just fizzes its way through the rev range. It's really, really exciting. And like the Bender that I was riding the other week, this thing just revs and revs and revs. I mean, you will hit the red line, hit the rev limiter at over 11,000 RPM, I think. But to get there, you'll have to really work it. It is an engine that you need to rev, but actually in the mid-range, it is very, very punchy, which is a lot of fun. I think the gear ratios are quite short to make the most of that, but it's really entertaining to ride. I've actually really enjoyed my time on this thing. It's been a lot of fun. That part of that fun comes down to the fact that in, you know, a bike that's over 200 kilograms, I think this one comes in at like 228 kilograms, with 65 horsepower you know, with this geometry, it's never going to be the fastest thing on two wheels. And that is absolutely the case. But with that engine beneath you, you just have to work it. You have to get up and down through the gears. And it's just really, really entertaining and very engaging. I had a lot of fun on this bike as we've been riding it up here in Adlington. There are some bad points, and it sounds like I'm a broken record, but every Chinese bike I've pretty much ridden has had a bit of a slushy feeling gearbox. You don't get the snick as you go up into the next gear, and the gear lever throw on this bike is very long as well. It has got a concentric adjuster on it. I tried adjusting that around to get a bit more of a more direct feel to the lever, but it didn't make masses of difference. I mean, it could be down to the guys at Motor 73 who've been prepping these bikes ready for us. It could just be that they've been rushing to get them out so that we could go and test them. The other thing that I noticed on this bike is that there is a lot of free play in the throttle, which does mean that when you're picking up the throttle, it can sometimes be a bit clumsy because you'll go through the free play expecting the throttle to open, and then by the time you've gone through it, you've gone too far, and then all of a sudden it comes in with a bit of a jolt. On the plus side, the slipper clutch on this bike is very good, and as long as you don't rush your downshifts or your upshifts, you shouldn't be encountering any false neutrals. So we've been riding up here in the Dales, we've done some town riding, we've been riding out across the moors, we even hit the motorways for a little stretch. So I've got a good idea of how it handles, and for a bike of this size, this shape, this wheel size, this configuration, there are no real nasty surprises. It handles just like a cruiser, just like you'd expect a cruiser to, in all honesty. You can push it, the suspension's really quite soft for a cruiser, and you have got some adjustability from the Marzocchi forks and the Marzocchi rear shock as well. The CST tyres that we're rolling on, they're not really a brand that we get very much in the UK, but they provide you with a surprising amount of grip. And we were riding yesterday, it was quite warm, it was quite sunny. Today it's been pretty cold and quite rainy. Even in the rain today, we were riding across the moors and we were pushing on quite hard, and I was keeping up with the 900 Naked that we've already also been testing, and I was also keeping up with the 900 SRT, the big adventure bike as well. And actually it can keep up as long as you ride, you know, sensibly. You can keep up as long as you're taking care as you're going through the corners. It's a thing that you can thrash, and it kind of soaks up all the abuse that you throw at it as you're riding it, which is a lot of fun. It is 230 kilograms though, so when you get off the Dales and you get off the moors and you get into town, that weight can make itself felt. It can feel a little bit cumbersome around town, but you've got the bonus of a super low seat, which just makes it accessible for anyone, even short-ass riders like myself. The brakes are a good point. They're QJ branded, and we think if you scratch off those QJ transfers, there might be some J1 or Bi-Brake transfers under there, but they are 4-pot calipers. There's plenty of strength there. The master cylinder we think is from a Harley Davidson, because so is all of the switchgear on the bike as well. It looks very similar to some of the smaller capacity Harleys like the Softail and the Street Bob. But the braking power is quite good, and the clutch on this one is very light as well for that little 600cc V4, which would make town riding that little bit easier. I'm going to go through the electronics. You don't get masses on this thing, so you've got a little TFT, which is actually very neat, very nicely laid out and very easy to read. It's not angled almost flat to the bike like the last cruiser that I was riding up here was, so you couldn't read it. This one you can actually see the information that's provided on it. You get traction control, which is switchable, and there are some menus within the TFT that you can go and alter and stuff like that. The only gripe that I've really got with the switchgear is they've borrowed the Harley Davidson switchgear, but instead of having turn left on that handlebar and turn right on that handlebar, they've just got it all on this handlebar, and it's like a fiddly little rocker switch that you have to play with. What it did mean is we were constantly leaving indicators on. Whoever rode this thing during our 2 days of riding up in Adlington was leaving their indicator on constantly around town, which isn't a great feature. Just give us a normal indicator switch or stick to the one on each side system. That would be much better for me. Moving on to the verdict, obviously cruisers aren't for everyone. If you don't fancy a big lumpy V-twin, or you don't fancy a slightly boring and tedious feeling cross-plane parallel twin, really out there in the cruiser market now, there aren't many options for you unless you're looking to go for a £20,000 plus Ducati Diavel V4, and they are not in everybody's price range. That's where the SRV comes in. It's really cost effective, it is cheap, it's a cheap bike. I mean, some of the plastic finishes on it do make it look a little bit cheap, but what you're getting is a bike that actually from a distance looks good. To most people it will look like a cool little bike. It sounds absolutely incredible. It sounds really cool when you wind on the throttle, and it actually rides fairly well as well. So there's a lot to like here. There are some things that I would rather see. I would rather some of these plastic finishes up around here were maybe a slightly nicer metal or with a nicer coating on them. Overall though, you are getting what you pay for with any of these Chinese bikes. They are going to come with some foibles that you probably just have to get to grips with. So what I'd really like to see though, and this is me kind of sending a message to QDA, please build this. I'd love to see them take this little engine that probably cost them a couple of $1 million to develop and to build, take that engine out of this platform. I know it's a decent cruiser, but take that engine out of there, put it in a little naked or put in a little super sports bike or something like that, because it would be an absolute blast. The trouble is, I don't think they're going to do that. And the reason being is this is predominantly a bike that has been built for the Chinese market. In the Chinese market, it is cruisers that are some of the biggest sellers. They sell more than pretty much any other bike that they make over there. Nakeds and sports bikes, they're not really the most popular things, but cruisers and that whole cruiser lifestyle thing, the Chinese just love it, and that's why these things sell so well, and that's why they've kind of developed it. With the UK and Europe being such a small market, I don't think that's going to be a case that they'd ever put that engine in something else. I mean, we can hope, but it's probably not going to be the case. So the chances are that if you want to experience this funky little V4 power plant for yourself, this is probably going to be your only chance in the UK at least. Anyway, folks, that's enough from me. I've been Toad at Visordown.com. If you like that video, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our latest videos. And for the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, get yourself over to Visordown.com.